So, I know that this channel is not really based on being a quote-unquote hater. You see that on a lot of MMA channels, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes, just because like a lot of people like to talk a lot of trash about these fighters when people don't understand the level that they're fighting at in the UFC, especially if you've ever taken a martial arts class. You'll probably have a guy who you learned martial arts from who is on a tear in smaller organizations and goes into either Contender Series or he goes into the UFC himself, and then he meets someone who finishes him as quickly as he would finish you. And then you wonder how deep the iceberg is. So for me, in a game that's that level-based, it's so hard to look down on someone who made it that far. But however, as much as I try not to be a hater, I try not to be a yes man to these fighters as much. Because I want to talk about Israel Adesanya, because I just want to look at things objectively. And after he lost to Dricus du Plessis, I think it's safe to say that the golden years of Adesanya are done. I think it was safe to say that Sean Strickland, mentally and physically, worked Adesanya very bad. And that was the beginning of the end. The Sean Strickland fight was the beginning of the end for Israel Adesanya. He got exposed on a lot of stuff, especially the dog stuff. That's when I went to an open mat the day after the fight. Me and some of my rolling buddies were talking, and the one thing we brought up that really got us to all kind of like agree is that whole dog thing was very weird with Israel Adesanya, and that's not going to leave the public eye for a long time. But let's look at the fighting perspective too. In areas I thought like Israel still had it, but then when I go back and I watch that fight, and I see Dricus kind of aim for the chin little by little, chip away until finally you could tell in the fourth round, like when he finished Adesanya, that he hurt Adesanya and he capitalized on it, and Adesanya was turning away and kind of running a little bit. We've never seen that from him before. And yeah, he's fighting Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. Those two guys had an absolute war, and those guys are the head of the division right now. Strickland and du Plessis, definitely the top two that are going to fight for that belt, and may the better man win. However, if we look at everybody else in the division, how does Israel Adesanya stack up against? I don't know. Let's see. Now, in his generation, obviously the Cannoniers, the Whitakers, the Vittoris, I'm pretty sure if they were to rematch again, he'd probably work some of them, and he'd make easy work. I'm not saying that there are no winnable fights in the middleweight division for him, but then you see the Bo Nichols coming up and the Caio Barrios coming up. In fact, honestly, I think what a good match for Adesanya next would probably be the winner of Barrio versus Cannonier coming up this weekend, which I am looking forward to. I'm actually a big fan of the Barrio train coming up. Do I think that he had an easy fight in the striking realm against Paul Craig? Absolutely. So Jared Cannonier is going to be a different fight. But if Cannonier wanted to run it back with either Imavov or better yet, if he wanted to run it back with Adesanya afterwards, just for a good fight, because he did pretty well against Adesanya in their first fight. Like, let's say Cannonier stops the Barrio train. Those would be good fights too. So we will definitely see Adesanya back. He might earn his way up to another title fight. But let's say a Bo Nichols on a tear comes up. That wrestling is going to give Adesanya some really heavy problems. Joe Pyfer with his power punching. I'm pretty sure the guy is getting better. Now, right now, have I seen enough that justifies that he's ready for like the top fives of the middleweights? Probably not. Now, honestly, let's say Caio Barrio loses his next fight. He could go and fight Joe Pyfer. That would be a good matchup. But Joe Pyfer definitely, let's say he really shows us that he's ready for the upper echelons. If he gets Adesanya on the ground, I think it's going to be game over for Adesanya. Hamzat Chimaev, if Hamzat stays serious with the division, if he stays with the Robert Whittaker fight, beats Robert, and then wants to go up again, or if he wants another fight while he waits for Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis 2, I think Adesanya would be a good fight for him because he could, Adesanya's going to have to keep that on the feet. And, Hamzat is really good at smothering opponents. So if Hamzat wanted to get his hands on Adesanya, it's just a whole new generation of different breeds of fighters coming up the chute. And then, obviously, Adesanya's no longer on top of this mountain, and he still lays in the middle. So, no, he doesn't have... His career's not over. I think saying, oh, this is finally the end. Not if he loses one more fight, then maybe I might say this is the end. But, he's lost to Strickland and du Plessis, who are no jokes, obviously. And, there's obviously some people in that middle realm that he could obviously take on, or even rematch Cannonier if he wanted to. But I think, sometimes it's a little dramatic when people are, waiting for the downfall of the great Israel Adesanya. I just don't see it as it's going to be that dramatic of a decline. Now, are we seeing the chipping away start bit by bit by bit? Yes. I will be fair, and I will say that is a very big possibility. But I do think, his days of having that belt, chances of him ever getting a belt again are probably 1 in 4. I'm going to be fair. If he gets the right fight, gains some speed, gets some skill, and evolves his game, maybe. I want to be fair. But right now, we just know how middleweight has changed. And I think, honestly, it's safe to say that middleweight is, with or without Adesanya, is in its glory days back when you had Chris Weidman in his prime, back when you had Anderson Silva dispatching people. I think middleweight is restored to its former glory, though, because look at the landscape, and it is very diverse, and it's catching up to Izzy's style very fast. But we're definitely going to see him back. We'll see him get his hand raised, but like I said, I think du Plessis and Strickland have basically made it so the days of the last stylebender are no longer in their prime. But that's what I have to say. It's a very interesting landscape for middleweight beyond Adesanya that I could possibly see. And honestly, the fight that I think would be best for Izzy right now would probably be the winner of Caio Borralho versus Jared Cannonier. But I got to wrap this up. I don't want to talk for too long. I wanted to make this video next time.